Just said to us before, he looks very professional. We'll let you in on a little secret here. This is our first one of these.
So when people can't hear this audio, it was a secret location.
Right, okay.
That's
why I've never heard
You're
of
the
it.
last person to find out.
You had to meet someone and then you got taken down, balaclava on, taken down an alleyway. It was.
You're just all guns blazing in Formby Hall.
Yeah.
How does it get from
no, it's
Southport to Retief Goosen's hands?
UPS, I think.
Killed me off.
Brilliant. Doesn't happen very often now.
That does not happen very often, but brilliant.
Welcome to the Bogey Boys podcast.
You're joined here by Kevin and Mark. We are live this time. We've got a guest, Mr. Phil Kenyon. How's things?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you doing?
Very good.
Very well. All the better for seeing you, mate. How's things going?
Yeah, all good. Can't complain.
Yeah.
Finally got round to doing this.
Finally,
I know.
Yeah, we've been pestering you for long enough, haven't we?
Yeah.
I was actually on the phone to Mark, and I was like, "Hey, is Kenyon here?" I just jumped out the car. I was like, "Phil, what's that? When are we doing this podcast? Let's do it. Let's get it done."
Yeah.
But you just said to us before, he looks very professional. We'll let you in on a little secret here. This is our first one of these.
So when people can't hear this audio,
Technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties.
You've got a box with a load of wires.
Yeah.
It looks good, doesn't it?
and
But
mic, so
it just shows you how much you can just bluff and get your way through it, doesn't it?
yeah.
So anyway, thanks for coming on, mate. We appreciate you
Pleasure.
joining us and sharing your journey and your secrets into becoming one of the best putting gurus, if not the best putting coach out there.
Is there a ranking?
Not that I'm aware of.
Right.
Your credentials speak for themselves, though, don't they?
I always get a bit embarrassed when
Why?
people start talking like that.
Why?
I don't know, because, don't know, just feel a bit uncomfortable, but I never really look at it like that.
No. Well, let's before we get into talking about you and your whole journey and your story of how you got to becoming where you are today, let's talk about recent events. Obviously, Matthew Fitzpatrick winning the US Open. You're his putting coach. Obviously, a proud moment for you, I imagine.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was there that week. I left actually on the Saturday because I always try and get home for Father's Day wherever I am.
Yeah.
So I always miss out on the Sunday of the US Open. But I got home, managed to stay awake, watched it, and it was amazing to see him get it over the line and see him celebrate with his family and his brother, and it was a pretty cool moment.
Yeah, well, I read the story. His brother done the exact same thing, didn't he? Flew home and then had to fly back the next morning just to get there to see him lift the trophy.
Yeah, so his brother was there during the week, and he's playing in the Irish Open this week, turning pro first event. So I think he was conscious that he needed to prepare and get some practice in. So he left and then ended up flying back that morning because obviously he was in contention and had a chance to win.
Yeah. I want to talk about his putter as well. He seems to have like the Yes Putter C groove that's being remodeled. Talk to us a bit about that.
Yeah, so not many people really pick up on that, but God, it's a long story really. But I first met Matt when he was 15 years old. He came for a lesson.
Okay.
We used to have a studio on the other side of town, and it was part of the Yes Golf distributor. So Yes Golf was a company that made putters, and my old mentor Harold Swash designed those putters for the company. And Matt came for a lesson, and we fitted him for a C groove putter, which he used up until about 3 years ago, I think. And I mean, when I say he used that putter, it had different grips, a few different shafts, and a few different heads. So it wasn't technically the same putter, but he essentially used that model for a long time. And I think just trying to get hold of that product, because I think the company is the product's discontinued now. Company doesn't exist. It was always difficult, and he was picking ones up off the internet, stuff like that. So a company basically manufactured a replica of it, because the patent for the C groove doesn't exist anymore, or it'd run out. So they were able to basically mill that groove onto one of the heads, and as a consequence, he's used that putter. So yeah, it was he won with it. He's putted really well with it. He's happy with it. It kind of feels like his old gamer. And incidentally, that was if you're talking about like C groove, that was the third time that putter had won the US Open.
Was it?
Yeah. So the C groove was used by Retief Goosen on both of his wins.
Wow.
In fact, the first one, it really kind of kickstarted that company as a consequence. Gave it some recognition, and that was a big startup for it. So yeah, C groove.
I remember when I was a junior at West Lancs. West Lancs were a big stockist of them, weren't they? They always had them there. But how come it just took such a good rise, and then how come no one like carried it on or continued it? Just let the patent sort of go.
Well, they had a lot of success early on, and I think like in the UK and Europe, they had a decent market share. They were for one period of time, they were number one selling golf club in Korea. So they sold more putters than they did drivers.
Wow.
And I think the company got into a little bit of trouble. If you're not trying to grow or get bigger, it's easy to go backwards. And I think they kind of outgrew themselves potentially. And I remember 9/11 had a big impact on them.
Okay.
For some reason, I think they had a lot of investment. 9/11 happened. Market changed a little bit, and eventually they had problems, and they went into receivership. And I think the patent went in with that. It got acquired. They went into receivership, and then Adams Golf bought them.
Right.
And then Adams Golf ran Yes Golf as like a sub company, and then Adams Golf got acquired by a bigger brand. And that, I think they then got shelved, and I think it's around about that time the patent just kind of ran out, and it's sad really, because it was a really good product.
It is,
yeah, because it was everywhere. It was everywhere, wasn't it, when we were growing up?
Yeah,
it was
definitely.
Everyone had a C groove. I've had all three of them.
I've got Cali still in mine.
Have you?
Yeah, I've still got the Cali in mine. Yeah,
that was it. Yeah, so that was a great putter. David Howell used that.
Yeah.
Won at Wentworth with that putter.
Yeah. He was there that year for Wentworth as
He
well
was,
when he won that. Yeah,
Dave, the pro here, caught his ball straight after he won. It's a claim to fame.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's obviously the proof's in the pudding that it's still working if he's using the same style of putter and winning the one of the biggest events in golf.
Yeah, no, I think like Matt has always been a really good putter, and as a consequence, he just wanted to continue using same type of blade, and he really believed in the groove. So I guess it stood the test of time, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. It has. One thing I wanted to ask while we're on the subject of Matt Fitzpatrick, he always seems to put with the flagging.
Yeah.
What's the reason behind that? Because I know obviously when COVID happened, that was the reason why people were doing it, but he seems to be the main one in my mind that sticks out, that stuck with it.
Yeah, I'd like to kind of give you this a big story about the scientific testing behind it and all that, but it basically came down to him not putting very well at the British Open a few years ago. I think it might have been Portrush. And then Billy said to him on the Saturday, listen, why don't you stick the pin in? Like, just change it up. And he did. And then on the Sunday, he like held everything.
Oh.
And as a consequence, he's just kind of kept with it ever since. And I think it's kind of a little bit more superstitious than anything now. Although he has spoke about how it helps him kind of like narrow in on the target a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, as long as he keeps holding putts, I think he'll
with
keep,
it.
Yeah, he'll keep doing it.
Obviously working.
Do you do any science behind, like, is there a scientific reason for like or the right answer to keep the flag in or not? Have you done any of that sort of research?
Done bits of testing, and it's quite difficult really, because you get different flags.
Yeah.
You know, you'll get like different diameters, different materials, so they can respond differently, you know. the ball will hit the flag and it could bounce off differently depending upon the material, diameter, stuff like that. So I don't think there's any hardened rule about it, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of it's kind of mentally what you feel comfortable with as well.
Yeah.
Like I've not really played much golf over the years, and over the last sort of 18 months, I've got back into it through the pandemic and having a bit more time. And I can't get used to the pin being in,
No.
really, because when I last played golf like 10 years ago,
Yeah.
I won't have the pin in.
Yeah,
it's
so
not for me.
it does take a bit of getting used to, but yeah, I can't really answer that one because I don't know
Yeah.
if there is a right or wrong answer.
As I say, when we play SNA, the flags are skinny at the bottom, aren't they? So it's
Yeah.
like it's all right, but then sometimes you play and it can just dead weight and stay out. It's
bounces it
metal,
back
but the
out,
flag's metal
Yeah.
or something, and you're just like, wow,
Yeah.
forget that.
No, definitely.
Each pin will have a COR
All right.
if
What's
you want
that?
some scientific.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I
what I
was
was
gonna
after,
say,
like,
Yeah, I forget what it stands for, but it's like the rebound off it. You know, like the
Right.
driver, the rebound.
Yeah. Center of rebound, we'll call that.
Yeah, I might not even be COR. Just sort of,
That
You
works
just
for
want-
us.
you just-
That works for us.
Hit me with something.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, obviously we got you on the podcast, like we said. Finally, we appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you very
Obviously,
much.
Want to know about your journey to where you are now and where it all started. So obviously, take us back to young Phil and obviously growing up playing golf. Where did you play? What was your ability like? And
Where were you born?
what weight was you?
No, I mean, I lucky for me, my mum and dad played golf, members at Hillside, just down the road. I had a little go when I was about 8, wasn't that into it. And then I remember some holidays when I was 11, one of my good mates at the time, Ian Wright, who lives somewhere up in Scotland now, probably not seen for about 30 odd years. He was getting into his golf, and I was like, I'll have a little go, go at that again. So Southport Uni, mum used to drop us off, go play, and got into it from then. Really, that summer, I was lucky because mum and dad were members at Hillside. I joined there as a junior, and I just got the bug.
Yeah,
you know, it's
Yeah,
like,
of course, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I just go down there every day and play as much as possible. They had a really good junior section. There's a guy called Gordon Rimmer who was ex-rugby player, Barbarian, real like proper old school junior organizer, was great for the kids, encouraged a good golfer himself. So I got really fond memories of being a junior member at Hillside. I got pretty good at it, I think, and went on, played for like Lancashire Boys, played for England schoolboys, and very quickly had aspirations to be a professional and play and try and make a living in the game.
Yeah.
One of my dad's best mates at the time was a guy called Harold Swash.
Yeah.
I mentioned there was a designer of the Sea Groove. So he was like a prominent putting coach, designer at the time. So, and he's my dad's best mate. So I was like knocking around with him. I'd go and play golf with him. I'd go and caddy for him. So I was kind of in and around Harold from a very early age. And he helped me with my putting. He helped me, introduce me to people in the industry, getting, some free balls and free clubs and all that stuff. So that was great, really. And I got like to 18 and I remember having a year out, just in my A-levels because I wanted to play. And I remember it being horrendous, like played terribly.
Yeah.
And I thought, maybe not cut out for this. So I thought, I'm going to go to uni. So I went to uni, went to Liverpool, John Moore's uni, and continued with me golf.
What did you study?
Applied psychology and sports science.
Right, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'd never really been that interested academically in anything. And I'd always enjoyed sport, coaching, psychology and stuff like that because I was into that to try and help my own golf. So in my year out, I was like, I need to go to uni because I'm not sure if I'm going to be good enough. And I thought, if I'm going to do something, I want to do something I enjoy.
Yeah.
So basically found a course, and John Moore's is one of the higher ranked institutes, I think, for that kind of stuff. So I went and did that, really enjoyed it actually. First time I've ever been interested in anything like academically. And it helped me golf. Funnily enough.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the
You know,
psychology side. Yeah.
Playing on a hangover, your expectations
There you
go
go,
down,
yeah.
don't they?
That's it.
I was thinking more the science, but that makes perfect sense. The hangover, yeah.
Well, I think you take a bit of pressure off yourself, don't you?
Yeah.
For one, and I enjoyed university golf. We had like a university team, and you kind of playing in some of those tournaments, and I was fortunate enough to play for like England and British unis, and played in the World Student Games one year in Switzerland, and we won a bronze medal. So it was I've got fond memories of that, and it definitely helped with my golf. So when I finished uni, I was undecided whether to go down the route of using my degree or turn pro. So I thought, I'm going to do both. So I basically did a part-time MSc in sports science, and then turned pro.
Same pro, yeah.
Yeah. So I did that, and sort of kind of kicked on with my golf. Played full time for about 5 years. I gave myself like 5 years. I didn't want to be someone that went, kept on going and you get stuck in a rut. So I was like, give this 5 years, and at the end of it, if I've not got where I need to be, I'm going to go and do something else. So played full time for 5 years. Didn't get to the level that I wanted to get at, and I think in that final year, during that 5 years, obviously I was brassic. I had no money, come out of uni, so I had like my debt from uni.
It's like something that doesn't go hand in hand. That does it, turning pro and being in uni when like the Euro Pro or whatever tours are costing X amount of thousand.
Yeah, when I look back, it probably wasn't the best decision. But I had help though. I mean, I had like Hillside Golf Club. The members at Hillside were great with me. They kind of, quite a few members kind of rallied around to support me and give me some sponsorship.
Yeah, you find that a lot in this area, don't they? The young pros, even nowadays, who come through. There's a couple of fellas at SNA who've helped the young pros come through and supported them for the year or two. Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
I think the golf community is good like that.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah,
Very
definitely.
And then there's one particular member at Hillside, Phil Halsell, who put me in contact with a couple of companies, and Enterprise, which is like a quite a big company. They sponsored me for a few years. So I was looking. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was a start. It gave me something, and then which I use basically for my like entry fees and traveling and stuff like that. But I needed to earn money, so I was working as well. So I had a whole host of really crap jobs.
Yeah.
But then Harold, he was there, and he was like, "Well, come and help me," and that was brilliant because at least I was doing something in golf, So I was like working in a warehouse at night, playing some golf, doing some stuff with Harold when I could. And really over that 5 years, being in and around Harold, realizing that maybe I wasn't going to be good enough, and getting to that age where I needed to kind of kick on with be successful in some area, develop a proper career. Then I was like, do you know what? I really would like to get into coaching. I think I'd enjoy it. My academic background, I think, like lent towards going down that profession. And I'd had lots of lessons. I'd always been like a student of the game myself. I spent a lot of time with different coaches. And, I had that perfect opportunity with Harold because he was like, he just opened a studio in the hotel in Southport. And he was like, come and work with me. So I did that really. And I was still playing a little bit like North Region Pro-Ams. But my focus at that time was really just trying to develop my coaching. I was did my PJ down at Hillside with Brian Seddon. He let me do some coaching down there. So I was doing some full swing coaching, set up like a junior program for the juniors, doing some stuff with Harold, playing a little bit of golf. It was good old days, actually, when I look back.
Sounds boss, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Sounds great, yeah.
It's mad that you were just talking about, just to jump back a little bit, about the student World Championships or something in Switzerland.
Games, yeah.
It's weird the way, because obviously everyone talks about the pedigree of the United States, college system and all the players that come out ready to win and stuff. You'd think if there was stuff like that going on, there'd be more focus on unis and getting players straight out of uni and stuff. Do you know, they're ready to go on the PJ Tour now, aren't they? Whereas, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because you've got the PJ University thing now, haven't you?
Everything in
Korn
college
Ferry
is
cards and stuff.
in America is geared towards like being a professional athlete. Whereas if you've got like the student games going on and all these other things, what's the standard? Is it?
You know, there are some good players. I think it's gotten a lot better. I would say when I was at that, it was more like a county level standard, to be honest. You know, we would have games against counties. You know,
Right.
Some of our British Unis games we used to play every year against Durham. It's gotten a little bit better, but I think ultimately the US collegiate system is so well developed and there's so much money in there, and you've got the weather, the conditioning, and everything. Anyone good at golf who wants to continue within education, they're going to go over there.
Well, that's it, yeah.
And it's proven, isn't it? I mean,
yeah,
if you attain a certain level in college golf, then there's a proven route to being successful as a PGA Tour player.
Yeah.
So it's a great sort of proving ground, isn't it? Testing ground to get out and compete on. But over here, I think university golf is more like university football or university sports. It's secondary to the education.
Yeah.
Is it more people who are doing a course that like golf? I'm going to put on the side.
And they're good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
They don't go there for the golf, they go there for the education, and golf's part of it.
Yeah, a little bit more so maybe now. You've got like St Andrews and Stirling. I mean, I think I'm a little bit out of that now because obviously when I went to uni, it was like 27 years ago or 28 years ago. But I think Stirling now have a decent program where people might go because
for
of the
golf.
Yeah. But it's nowhere near in the same league as the US collegiate system.
In the college system, obviously, if you don't get your grade points up, then you don't play and all that. So it's more discipline, isn't it?
You've got to
qualify and all that. Yeah.
The standard of competition's a lot higher. It's a lot more serious and more events. I mean, you've got certain teams that will fly private to certain events.
Yeah,
it's a different.
It's televised
league
as well, isn't it?
Yeah, different league.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously on the point that you made there about obviously you're getting into the coaching side of things now, how did that transition then into becoming a putting coach? If you were starting with the swing, how did that begin?
So obviously when I started coaching, I was like getting more involved with Harold, and I guess just that was busy. You know, he was doing a lot of different things. I really enjoyed that part of it, and I was also exposed to better players and different environments very quickly that really kind of made it more enjoyable. You know, he would go off on trips. I remember one of the first trips I did overseas was going to Finland to work with the Finnish boys team. So I'm there as Harold's assistant, like working with these players and stuff. And yeah, it was glamorous, I guess, in a way, wasn't it? So I had a lot more interest in that. And one of the things that I very early on felt was you could help someone in an hour gain more with a putter than you could with a full swing. I learned that quickly, that you could do a lot within a small period of time compared to helping someone, with a full swing. It just seemed a bit easier in some respects. Now, whether that was because I had access to like a mentor, in Harold or not. But yeah, it just all led to me gravitating towards working on that more and getting stuck into that. And that just kind of snowballed. You get busier, do more lessons, you get more experience, you get better at that part. We had a good indoor studio and there weren't many people at the time operating as like a specialist putting coach.
Yeah.
So we'd get a lot of good players come at that time. And we're talking like, obviously, now over 20 years ago. So golf's different now.
Yeah, of course,
you didn't have Instagram and the internet. We had dial-up internet back then. It's a little different, isn't it? Now there's a lot of people who are looking into putting or short game or specializing more. Back then there weren't that many. Just kind of got stuck into that, working hard on developing that studio, that business. And then there was a good opportunity for me came about with Yes Golf. Harold was actively, designing putters for that company at the time, and they wanted to take that product onto the European tour. They wanted to put someone out there to fit the players. because they had a unique selling point about the product at the time, which was the groove and ball roll.
Yeah.
And they were like videoing the ball roll to show launch and spin, which was fairly high tech at the time, even though it was like 60 frames a second camera, you know. But so Harold said, "Do you want to do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do that." You know, I think it was like 8 events in the first year. I was like, "Yeah, I'll do that. I've got my coaching and just getting out on tour. And like, I knew a few guys who were playing at that time because I'd play golf with them and stuff like that. So yeah, I started going out, and I was working as a rep for Yes Golf. Did about 8 or so events, and then being out on tour, fitting these guys. You naturally, players start asking questions, and they're aware that you're doing coaching as well. And started then helping a few players at events. Some guys would come to the studio here in Southport, and that again just helped me in terms of my experience and also access to clients, really. So that was a big thing for me. That kind of definitely accelerated my career in those sort of earlier years.
Where was that studio in Southport? I've always heard about it. I've never actually knew the location.
It was a secret location.
Right, okay. That's
to,
why I've never heard
You're
of
the
it.
last person to find out.
You had to meet someone, and then you got taken down, balaclava on, taken down an alleyway. It was,
you're just all guns blazing in front of you all.
Now we're dragging people in up the street. Bannister Road, it was in Birkdale.
That was in Birkdale, was it?
Yeah, it was a little industrial estate, and they had the offices and the warehouse all downstairs, and then we had putting studio above there.
Oh, right, I see.
That was good.
And I've heard him, remember hearing a thing about Harold when I was a member at West Lancs as a junior, that he's had 18 putts in around once or something. Was that a myth, or was that true?
He said.
Oh, was that? Oh, I see. Is that one of them?
He said he had 18 putts in around once and 19 in another.
Yeah.
He had his number plate was H18 HS putt, I think it was, something like that.
Right, I see.
And his missus' car was 19 HS putt or something. So yeah, he said he had 18.
I always remember hearing it around West Lancs when I was a junior. Like, you need to buy these putters. The fellas had 18 putts with this and that. I guess one of them then.
That was a big market.
That was I didn't know, but that's good to hear that it
He was a good putter though, Harold.
Was he?
Yeah.
How was you like as a putter growing up?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Like myself?
Yeah. No, I'm better than you for what
No
I've
way.
heard.
No one's better than me.
Let's have a put off now.
Let's do it. Drop the mic.
We'll do it. We'll have to get that done in a minute, though. You'll have to have a putt. Bet you spoon your first one.
Got an injury.
I'm embarrassed myself, honestly. I think I'm a good putter. It's all up
Oh
here.
my God, he's flapped it. He's
bottled it, hasn't he?
He's bottled it.
I've got an injury too.
Right. So moving on from there, then you settled as a. Is that when you've made the decision then to be full on short game, or have you once you've been out on the European tour? What's gone on from there?
Well, so I think I did that role as a rep for a number of years. God, I can't quite remember how many, but maybe about five or 6 years. And that ended up being we had a lot of success with that putter. Actually, I think we won the tour count with it. So during the South African Open one year, it was the most used putter on tour.
Okay,
which was one of the things I'm probably most proud about when I look back. I think, we took that putter from no one using it to being the most popular on the European tour.
Yeah.
So I was working that role and also coaching. And then I got to a point where I couldn't really do both. I was getting too busy at events. So I left that role. And a guy that I knew, I kind of helped find someone to, take my role. And then I just started working full time, just putting then. So I was still going to events, but just purely as a coach. And then obviously the studio back at home. But by then, once I started doing the Yes Golf stuff, I was full time putting it. I didn't have time for full swing lessons or the junior stuff or anything.
Yeah.
So my mind was just fully on that, and I enjoyed it, and I saw that there was an opportunity there. So,
when you're saying that, like Harold got the offer to go to the European tours, the European tour approaching Harold about the product, or did you have to go and sell it to the European tours? Like, we've got this, can we come on board?
No, I think it's a strategy by the company to say we want to get European tour players
Yeah.
using it. And I think officially what you've got to do is have someone using the putter and they request that the manufacturer is allowed on site.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And we did have that at the time because I think it was after Retief had won the US Open using it, or they'd managed to get authorization to go to
Perfect,
events. Yeah.
How does it get from Southport to Retief Goosen's hands?
UPS, I think.
Killed me off.
Brilliant. Doesn't happen very often, that.
That does not happen very often, that, but brilliant.
I'm not entirely sure exactly, but I think Retief picked it up whilst at an event
Right.
that Harold had gone to.
Right, okay.
And Retief knew Harold. I think, yeah, I mean, Harold knew a lot of players at that time. He was quite sort of well known. But there was some interaction between Retief and Harold. He picked hold of the putter up at an event somewhere. And then went on and did well with it.
Boss.
Brilliant. So,
do you want a little side note there on
of course,
the name of the putter?
Yeah.
So at the time, the putters were just like numerical names, like Yes Golf 1 or whatever. Well, actually, it was before they even were called Yes Golf. It was called Pro Gear. So that was the original name of the company. Retief won, and Pro Gear then, I believe, allegedly, were in negotiation to work out some sort of deal with Retief to use his name. Anyway, it didn't happen. So they weren't able to use his name. So they named the putter after his wife, which was called, his wife was called Tracy. So that model was called Tracy. And then they decided to name all the other putters subsequently after women.
Yeah.
So like different women that were associated, involved, but in the company. Yeah, so then the Pro Gear rebranded as Yes Golf, but then all the putters were named after women.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't
know who Callie was.
No.
It was Tracy 2, isn't it? Wasn't it a Tracy 2?
She was his hairdresser.
Belter.
So look, we know how you've got into the putting world then now through that story you've just told us. So then how was Phil Kenyon putting born then?
So yeah, I mean, obviously when I started working with Harold, we set up a company called Harold Swash Putting Limited.
Yeah.
And then over the years, Harold became less and less involved. So, that the structure of that company sort of changed to accommodate the fact that I was doing more work, Harold doing a bit less. And then ultimately he retired. But I kept that name and that company going. And that's still the name of the company today, Harold Swash Putting Limited. But I guess over the years, I think the name of the studios at the time was the Harold Swash Putting School of Excellence, which is quite a long-winded title.
Yeah.
And for many years we kept the name of the studio to be that. But I guess that just a few years ago it was time to kind of rebrand.
Yeah.
Got some help off a few different people that I spoke to within the industry about, and they were, I think, the feedback I got was to kind of rebrand it and use my name on the basis that that was the right way to move forward. So just rebranded a few things a few years ago, and now it's Phil Kenyon Putting.
Yeah,
it's one of them, though, isn't it? Obviously you've come from him, but you're doing it, aren't you? So you might as well change it to you, isn't it, mightn't you?
Well, I think it got confusing.
Yeah,
there's a certain point where it got confusing because people know of you, and then you've got a different company name or different studio name, stuff like that. So just from like search engine optimization, social media and stuff like that, it was just time to try and tidy things up and everything be a bit more representative of what was happening.
That's fine, yeah. And then Vizio as well.
So there's a few years back, really, I had an idea for a product, which was basically I needed something to help me in lessons. And I was trying to find something out there that would give me this sort of feedback, and I couldn't find anything. So I thought, I'm going to make it myself. And that was it, really. So started making this product, made it locally, ended up just selling some stuff through our lessons in the studio, and it was quite popular. So we put a little online site or online shop onto the website, and got a little bit of traction with that, and then started thinking about, well, we could do some other products here, and it just grew from there. And I still have a bit of a laugh with it with my missus, really, because in our old house we had this like cellar that the product would be in, and she was a teacher at the time. I'd shove her down the cellar to package stuff up and then she'd take it to the post office twice a week. So it basically started in the cellar, and that's been quite successful in recent years, and now we have like a third-party logistics place that looks after it, and we've got like 3 other people that help me run that business. So it started in the cellar. My missus doing it, and now it's grown.
So for anyone that doesn't know what Vizio is, just talk us through what that feedback is and what actually the benefits are of using the product.
So Vizio basically is the brand name of putting training aids. So if you go into Vizio putting.com, there's a host of different putting training aids, all designed by myself and all designed for specific purposes, which I use every day in my own coaching. So we've got a lot of different products on there. Most popular, I'd say, is the template, which was that original product that I thought of, which is
that the arc.
So it's like a 2-dimensional representation of the putting stroke on the floor, which you kind of put over and can use to video, get feedback, stuff like that. So basically training aids which we produce.
When you're on the European tour and you're giving out putting lessons, what technology is available to you? Because obviously it's a few years back, isn't it? Have you got, obviously now you've got...
It was nothing.
Yeah, is that what it was?
On the ground and some rope.
That was it. We had the VHS video, 60 frames a second.
Right.
And that was it. So it was different, yeah.
Notepad to remember everything.
Look at
that.
Like that. It's 2022 and there's T's in the ground and there's a rope there.
Yeah.
So it's
obviously works.
Still going, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, well, like I said before, it's changed, hasn't it? Golf industry, golf coaching, everything's changed, and there's so much technology available now. It's been good to see that. I think
very numbers driven, isn't it? Golf.
It can be. There's a danger of it. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? I think application of technology is good if you use it correctly. It can be damaging if you don't. But when we go back, we didn't really have much. And then as technology comes out and you're looking at it, you'd start to utilize things that you think are going to help you. And I would say technology definitely helped me as a coach, because you start to measure things and appreciate what's actually going on. It's also good to get that feedback when you're working with a player, so you know that what you're doing is actually making the change that you want. So it gives you accountability. So feedback, I would say, would be technology. I would say would be a big part of my improvement as a coach over the years.
So and then you've obviously got understudies, haven't you? In Mike, and Lee's part of you as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
So going from being yourself, and then are you passing direct? Like, did they have to come to you and learn everything, or do you just pick up someone who is good at doing the job that they're doing already?
No, I think, with Mike, I used to play a lot of golf with Mike. We were, he was best man at my wedding. He's a good mate, and I'm a little bit older than Mike, and he turned pro. He was playing, didn't turn out as he wanted it to, and was teaching, doing a bit down at Hesketh, working in the pro shop, teaching there. So I just got him involved with us to come and give us a hand on clinics and various bits, and he did that, kind of supplement his income for a year, and he enjoyed it. Similar thing to me, really, and then he just got more and more involved, and then when we moved to Formby Hall, he then started sort of working with us sort of full time, and and generating his own lessons, helping me with some of my stuff. And then Lee Sullivan, who works with us, Lee was doing some putting coaching. He was doing a little bit with a manufacturer over in the Peak District, and I knew of Lee a little bit, but then got to meet Lee through a mutual friend, and it was just the kind of perfect timing where he was looking for a bit of an opportunity, and we needed a hand. So Lee joined us, and then it's a case of Lee getting up to speed with how we go about what we're doing, and he's worked really hard to develop his own coaching and kind of try and look at things through the same lens and perspective that Mike and I look at stuff. And then we've in the last 18 months we've had another lad join us, Mark Ramsdale. I don't know if you know Mark. He's a fairly local lad.
Was he a professional?
Yeah.
Does he play Europro?
He did do, yeah.
Did he? I've seen the name about him. Might be on Instagram, maybe.
So Mark's again been a guy that I've known for a while, and we needed some help, and we launched an online platform about 18 months ago, and Mark was getting involved with us doing a few bits, and he's a really good coach. Actually, he's going to be a good putting coach, and yeah, so he's been working with us the last 18 months.
Yeah. Right, so it's more of like a as and when that you see people. There's not like that you go to the PGA and you become a PGA professional. You don't go to Phil Kenyon to become under Phil Kenyon sort of thing.
It's like, I mean, it's like anything, isn't it? It's like who you know. I think.
Yeah, that's sort of the question.
But, I mean, I'm lucky in that the people that I've met there have been the right people.
Yeah,
and at the right time. But I think when you know people and they've got the right qualities, and you know them and you can trust them, then it makes it easier then to kind of invest in them. Because obviously it takes you put your heart and soul into stuff, and you've got to then invest time in that person to help develop them and pass your knowledge and experience on.
Yeah, because I went for a lesson with Lee down at Torex Golf. I've been for 2 lessons, and he just seemed like if he was going to be someone to represent your brand, he does seem like an absolute gentleman.
Yeah.
So it's like
he didn't speak very highly of you.
No one ever does.
Many people do.
No one ever does. But everyone's nice to me face though. It's weird.
Because you're a big unit, that's right.
Says you.
Lee's brilliant.
Yeah.
He's he's a good coach, and he's a good person to work alongside, because he's reliable, got high standards, great work ethic. Same with Mike and Mark, and I wouldn't have it any other way, really.
Yeah.
You want people that are going to push each other. So we have a good little team, and we push each other and stuff.
Yeah. Where's Mark based? Is he just online? Is he?
No. So Mark's based here.
All right.
He does a bit of full swing coaching as well.
All right.
Down at the other range.
Oh, okay.
But does some coaching in here, and then he helps us with our online academy.
Right, I see. Perfect.
You talked there about managing your time, obviously trying to help the guys that are in your team. I'm interested to know, obviously, how you manage your time with the players that you've got when you go into an event.
Yeah.
How does that work? How do you manage your time, making sure that you get to see them all? And is that just a relationship you have with them, or does it set to specific times?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little tricky, particularly if you're at a busy event where everyone's playing. But I just try and operate a diary, really, and book people in to allocated times. And obviously you've got to be sort of flexible to accommodate, people and stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's the only way that I can do it. It could be difficult otherwise. If you're at an event and you've only got 1 or 2 players, it's easy to just float about and you're ready when they need to do work. But if you've got more players, you've got to try and be organised and get players into arrange specific times to meet them to make sure you can get your work done.
Yeah, definitely. And on the point of obviously players, what's your proudest moment then of obviously being a coach? What's the one thing that sticks out? There might be a couple.
Winning my bronze medal at the World Student Games. That's the only time.
Here you go.
This is his proudest moment right here, getting interviewed by us.
Well, that's what I was fishing for.
Not quite the Rick Shields podcast.
Right, finish, over.
Nice to meet you.
No, it's a tricky one, really, because I've been fortunate to be involved in some nice, experiences as a coach, but they're all different. And ultimately, I've not hit the shot, so coaches shouldn't take the glory and stuff. But it's nice to sit back and enjoy the moment and what it means for other people and the small part that you might play. But it's been different. It'd be really hard to pinpoint anything. I've been fortunate. I think, obviously Matt won last week. I think that's like the 5th major that I've been involved in, and each one stands out on their own for different reasons. Like I worked with Darren Clark when he won. That was new, for me to be involved. So that obviously stands out. And then I worked with Henrik when he won at Troon, which was obviously phenomenal. How he putted, and I've worked with Henrik for a long time. For that to come to fruition was great. Then I worked with Francesco when he won at Carnoustie, and that was different because I'd not worked with Fran that long, actually. I think it was only in about March that year, but he'd kind of really had a quick transformation and really made progress with his putting in a short period of time, and he had a stellar long game.
Yeah.
And then for him to sort of go head to head with Tiger and win, that was amazing. And I was at on the putting green when he found out that he'd won, because he came in, was warming down, and then I think Xander Schauffele didn't birdie the last, so he won us. So that was a cool moment. And then Gary Woodland won at Pebble Beach, which was winning a major in the US, working with an American player in the US. That was phenomenal. So they're all different, basically, for different reasons. If I say one that goes above all of them, would be the Ryder Cup, being involved or being at a Ryder Cup. And 2018 Ryder Cup was
Mollywood. Yeah.
Well, that was part of the week, wasn't it? But that was phenomenal, and my hairs kind of stand up on me, when I think about it. That was a phenomenal week, just being part of that and being around and having access to it. I didn't do any work. You're there, you're there just watching, aren't you? Yeah, you're there, but you've got the best seat in the house, and you've got privileges, haven't you? As a coach, you got your own. We had access to the locker room. We had our own coach's room. You're in and around the players. You're obviously paying attention, warm up and warm down in case you needed, but you're there as a fan, but the best seat in the house. So just to kind of have that seat, see what the players did and to experience that atmosphere and that level of golf was phenomenal, and I'll take that to my grave with me.
Yeah.
So that would be a standout experience that I've been fortunate to have.
Who was your first? Who was your first
girlfriend?
Where'd you go?
When did you lose your virginity?
I
mean, who was your first? One. Who was your first player that you were wow, this fella's unbelievable, to put you on the map, sort of thing? Or who was your first win where you did that put you on the map?
I won't answer that. I'll give you a different answer, or give you an answer to a different question. But when I was working for Yes Golf, I was helping a few players. It got to a point where I was helping a couple of lads, and they're like, "We need to pay you for this. You're helping us here." And it was the two in question were Ian Garber and Mark Foster. Now, you might not know those names, or some people that listen to this podcast might not know them, but both good players. Ian was a really solid European Tour player. Mark Foster would be a multiple winner on European Tour, and I knew Mark from my amateur days because he was one of the best amateurs in the country, won the English Amateur, stuff like that, and I played junior golf with him. So I was working with them, and they're like, "We need to pay for this." So at the time, I spoke to the CEO of the company to say, "Listen, these players that I've been helping, there's a coaching opportunity with them on the tour. Are you okay if I do it?" And he was like, "Yeah, as long as you can do your job, then you do as much coaching as you want," which was great. And that was Francis Rickey, who was the CEO of the company. So I owe Francis a lot because I think
So very
Great.
flexible, that,
yeah. So that was kind of my first sort of tour pros that I was working with at events. And then in 2000 and what year was it that trying to think what
Testing my knowledge.
Yeah.
Fact check.
what year was it Harrington won the Open at Birkdale?
08, I think.
8 was it 7? Yeah, 8 or 7.
7 or 8, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So at the Open that year, I met Henrik for the first time, basically. Now Harold was still alive at the time, and he was coming towards the end of his sort of coaching career. But Pete Cowan was Henrik's coach, and I was in attendance at the event with Harold. And Pete said to Harold, "We have a look at Henrik for us. He's struggling with his putting." So we got him on the sand machine, which was a bit of technology at the time, which we had still used. Harold didn't know how to operate it, so I was his techie. I'd set it all up, got Henrik on. Harold gave him an opinion. Henrik finished third that week, I think, or second or third. He was up there, had a good week, and I got to meet Henrik through that. Harold wasn't really traveling much to events at the time. I was. Henrik wanted to do some work, so I got to know Henrik, started working with him. So he would be the first sort of really prominent player. And then in 2010, he won the TPC.
Yeah.
When I was working with him, so that would be the first sort of big win, really.
Right. And then obviously from Henrik, then other players start whispering, talking, and it just exponentially grows like that sort of thing, does it?
I guess so. I mean, it's it's kind of word of mouth. I've never really approached anyone, or I often get asked that. I've never approached anyone, but you'll find for whatever reason, people naturally over the years have come and asked you if you have a look at them or help them. Obviously, some players you've been able to help. The other players, I'm sure I haven't helped or had that opinion. I thought, what's he talking about? I'll move on. But no, you just do your thing, and you either get lucky or you don't.
Do you ever get that call on a Saturday night where someone had a bad putting experience and they want just a quick brief, and then the next day they've putted the best they've ever put?
No, because I don't normally take that call.
That's good.
Yeah, Boston.
Does it happen that? Or once your work's done, is it done?
There are instances where it can happen. I mean, to be honest, I think like most of the guys I work with now, I've worked with for a long time.
Yeah.
So they kind of understand what they need to do, and they're good people where they're not necessarily going to blame, the coach or whatever. And so you get that message, or they can work a lot of stuff out themselves. But yeah, you do have some interaction when you're not at the event in that kind of situation, and you do your best to help. Sometimes that can make a difference, other times it doesn't. But really, like, there's so many variables in golf which affect performance. You've just got to identify the processes which are right for you and keep doing it.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it's a flip of a coin, isn't it? Give yourself the best chance. So yeah, there have been instances where that's happened, but there's been a few where it hasn't.
Have you ever been approached by Tiger Woods to have a look at his putting? That's a yeah. That's a secret, yeah. No. That was a secret, yeah.
Give you the eyes there.
That was a secret, yeah. Oh, you reeled me in?
Do you know what? I haven't. I've never spoke to him. I wouldn't even know if he knew who I was.
You know who you are.
I doubt it.
No, definitely.
No, of course you
Million
will.
%.
So no, I haven't. I mean, I've watched him, and like everyone of our generation, we've seen him do amazing things, and got the utmost respect for him, and would love to kind of be. When you work with someone, you get to know them, don't you? You get an insight into what they do, and what I have realized is you don't know when you're on the outside. It's easy to look from the outside in and assume different things. So like, it makes me laugh when you hear some of the stuff that comes out on commentary or what people say about certain players, where you've had that insight, so you kind of know what's going on, what the scenarios are and stuff.
Yeah.
So I would love to kind of get on the inside just to kind of take some Tiger stuff to my grave.
Yeah.
But no, never had that opportunity.
Will he be watching this? So
Yeah.
Will he?
He follows us, yeah.
I got a message for him.
Yeah, give us a call, mate.
Give us a call, mate. And another thing I want to talk about is obviously you've got the studio here, and we had Justin Parsons on.
Yeah.
And then so you've got a studio over in Sea Island as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
So basically, just want to know. He talked about the players, and they come and go, and they pay him a set wage, blah blah blah. Don't go into the finer details of it, but is it the same sort of setup?
Basically, I'll just take 90% of their earnings, leave them with 10%.
And everyone, it works out okay for everyone.
And yeah, everyone's happy.
Everyone's happy, yeah. Sounds like a fair deal.
Was it like a retainer, or is it like by the lesson, or do you get me?
No, I have like an agreement with players. Yeah. So, which is based on, on the year, and it's a commitment then that they get me for 24/7. I attend those various events. We do stuff outside of the events, got access to the studio.
Yeah.
So
Unless they call you on a Saturday night.
Yeah. I'd say you'll enjoy this one. I did get Gary Woodland a couple of years ago. I don't get much time off, but a good mate of mine said, we need to get away for a weekend here. So I went to Ibiza.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm Saturday night in Ibiza, and it's Memorial, and it's a couple of weeks before the US Open. And Gary Woodland's putting crap. So I get this phone call Saturday night. I'm half cut in Ibiza. I'm thinking, I've got to take it. I can't. So I'm chatting with Gary Woodland on the phone. I'm hammered in Ibiza. And then 2 weeks later, he won the US Open.
There you go.
You probably don't even know what you said.
Actually, less than 2 weeks. I can't remember the conversation. I must have blagged my way through it because I was still employed when we got to Pebble Beach.
There you go.
Does he know that where you was and all that, or did you just try and?
No.
Oh, you've just woke me up, Gary.
Yes, morning. I think he knew where I was. Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah. After slurring me words,
Yeah.
he definitely knew where I was.
Yeah.
But obviously, you've been working with all sorts of people. Like the credentials speak for themselves on the wall, don't they? Mark Warren. Can't read that name over there. But remember one time when I was a member, got 2016. Yeah, I remember coming and everything was blacked out and we couldn't get in and no one was allowed. It was top secret. Everyone thought that you had Tiger, but you've just confirmed that. Yeah. Obviously you didn't. But
well, you've over-exaggerated that a little bit, haven't you?
Well,
you were allowed in.
That's what you've got to do. You know what I mean? It was tickets only at the entrance.
We blacked out the window, so in the studio, like we've got blinds there now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the instance that you asked me about was 2016, and it was just after the US PGA, and I got a phone call from Rory McIlroy, and he expressed an interest in doing some work. So he was going back to Northern Ireland. I was at home, so he organised to come here for a day. And at the time, where the studio is here at Formby Hall, like there's windows that look into the studio through the back of the pro shop, which at the time it's not a problem because it's quite good for people when they come into the pro shop. They have browse around, they look into the studio, they can see you teaching. It doesn't really prove much of a distraction. But often you'll have 2 or 3 people like stood at the window for 20 minutes watching. And I thought, do you know what? If Rory's coming, I can't do that because it's quite a busy place here. And all, if he's in here, you could have like 8 people stood at the window taking pictures or
throwing knickers in and all.
Yeah. Well, I'd have left it. that was the case. So I just thought we'd black it out. So we got some black paper, blacked out the windows. And then we organised it so when he came through like the side entrance. It was just to give him some privacy.
Yeah, that's it.
Because at the time, it's amazing the scrutiny that some of these guys have on their lives. So it was just something that we did to give him privacy so that he could be comfortable and just come in and do a day's work without feel like, it was going
all
to be
eyes on him.
Like a zoo, innit? If people are there.
Yeah, it would have been so easy for people to be there and phone the mate and then, like you say,
waiting for autographs or whatever.
Waiting for a photograph and all
off you.
Yeah, hardly. People sign this, sign that. So
yeah. And also, so do you know another question? the way you say you got someone come to you and they're like, right, I need some help when we put on, and they're on whatever level. And then Mike's obviously got a few players now, hasn't he? He works with the Hoygaards and he works with a number of other players. How do you like say, I'll take him or you take him? Like, how does that work?
I get first dabs, don't I?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
No. It's you can only work with so many players, and Mike's developed a reputation of his own. So like Rasmus and Nikolai, they approached him.
Oh really? Yeah.
Yeah. They I forget which one of them he was working with first, because he worked with like Lucas Beergaard and a couple of other Danes, and he got recommended to one of them. I think it was Rasmus.
Yeah.
And then as a consequence got to know Nikolai, and then Nikolai wanted to do some work. So you've got scenarios like that. You've got other scenarios like Matt Wallace. Mike works with Matt Wallace.
Yeah.
So I worked with Matt when he was, spent some time with him when he was at England, and he tried to get into the studio here. I think maybe once I couldn't. So we came, saw Mike. They've done great work over the years. That's Mike's Mike's student. He's worked with Matt since he turned pro.
Right.
All the way through to where he's at now, playing PGA Tour. So, Mike got his own credentials, got his own reputation.
Yeah, that's boss.
And clients come and seek him out. Obviously, there's been times where if I've been at capacity, he's, been there to help a player. And, there's actually one player that we both help and work with just because of his schedule and the events he's playing in. It's not always easy for one of us to be with him. So we kind of work together quite well, I think, in that respect.
Yeah, no, it's I just wondered how that worked, really. Yeah. What happened with the Rory thing then? Does he continually come, or did he not come anymore, or what?
I worked with him for about probably 18 months, I think it was, and then he kind of went on, did his own thing after that, and he's working with Brad Faxon now.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. And one more thing,
I told you not to mention that.
What?
I told you don't mention that bit.
Well, you got sacked by Rory. One more thing, right? You must hear it. Everyone hears it. Tommy's putting.
Yeah.
Like it comes under fire, doesn't it? So
does it?
He stiffs it all the time, doesn't he? The tee to green.
So this is it. So where's he ranked this year putting on the PGA Tour?
Where's he ranked this year on the PGA Tour putting? We don't know.
Top 10.
Well, last year,
So
the Laco last year.
Don't come into my studio throwing bombs like this.
No, this is last year.
When you've not done your homework.
This is last year. Last year, he was outside the top 125 on everything, but people were blaming his putting. But when we actually looked, his putting was better than his long game.
I'm joking with you a little bit.
No, of course.
But you need to do your research a bit better. So I would say there's a very negative narrative around Tommy.
That's what I'm talking about.
And I think historically, like as a kid, he might not have been great, and you get a reputation as not being a good putter. But if you look like this year, I think he's in top 15 PGA Tour or something, for strokes gained putting. That's good.
No, it's unbelievable. Yeah.
You're not a bad putter. If you're in the top 60, you're not a bad putter. Last year he didn't have a great year. All round with all parts of his game, but I do think there's a very negative narrative around it, and it can be quite lazy. I hear it with commentators, that this narrative, it gets perpetuated, and then they look at and they see things, and if you're on a televised group and you miss a few putts, it's televised. Everyone else is missing a few putts somewhere else, and then that narrative gets perpetuated. So I would say, listen, he's a great player, and his long game has been like immense at times. So sometimes his putting can not look to the other standards, but like he's having a really good year with the putter this year.
Yeah,
and he's a very capable putter. He's not someone that worries me with a putter.
Yeah,
like he what the game's like. You never own it. It's difficult, isn't it?
Oh, unbelievable.
So you're going to have bad days, you're going to have bad runs. But I think technically he's improved a lot over the years. He's had some dart bits, in terms of his putting career earlier on, but he's overcome those. And if you speak to Tommy, like he knows, he has a really good perspective about himself. He knows his game better than anyone else.
Yeah.
And he knows where he's at, where he's been, because it's been up and down for him, hasn't it?
Of course.
So, and I think he's pretty comfortable with his putting at the moment. Can it be better? Well, those guys always want to be as good as they can in each department. So I'm sure he can improve, and I'll do my best to help him.
Well, that was sort of what the question was leading to. Obviously, Tom, we always talk about it, don't we? Like, people are quick to blame his putting on his performances, but then it's like, because he hits so many greens and he is hitting it
so
that
close
close,
as well.
and he misses a couple, it's just the same as people missing from a bit further away, isn't it?
No, not really, because that's where strokes gained as a stat accounts for that. So, like, your strokes gained metric really does account for how well you're putting from where you're putting from.
Right.
Now, there are instances where if you're hitting it, say, to certain distances a lot, it can be difficult to hold putts. And in certain rounds or certain tournaments, your proximity could potentially affect your ability to gain, but it could also protect you from losing too many shots.
Yeah.
But over the course of the season, it tends to average itself out. So strokes gained metric is good for that. It gives you a good, baseline as how good is this guy a putter relative to the rest of the PGA Tour.
Yeah. So obviously, again, we appreciate you coming on and taking the time to share your insights and things. What does the future hold then for Phil Kenyon putting, and what's the main goals and aims for the future?
I don't know.
No, day by day.
It is. I've got. I'm not. I've never really had goals like.
No.
If I'm honest, I've never had like targets or things like that to work towards. I've just always focused on doing my best day by day and trying to be the best coach, trying to be, the best dad, whatever it is. So no, I mean, it's busy at the moment. Got Scottish Open and the Open coming up, so I'll be away for 2 weeks, and then I'll be away for a month in the US. But lucky that I could take my family with me because a little one he'll be off school. So really just kind of focused on that and just keep going. As long as I enjoy it, I'll keep kind of doing. Doing what I'm doing. I'd like to get a little bit more time off. I think the pandemic was good for a lot of people in many ways. I know it was bad for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it gave some people some time, didn't it, to reflect.
Of course, yeah.
And that was good. I had some time at home and realised there's certain things in life that I've been missing out on. Got back into playing golf a little bit. And I've really enjoyed that. Played this morning, had 9 holes with my mum.
How'd you go?
Yeah, it was good actually.
Yeah.
Played all right.
Yeah.
No, played at Hillside.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'd like to play a little bit more golf and try and get that work-life balance correct. I think
Do you not get the chance to play when you're at tournaments? No,
No,
it's
not
take your
really.
sticks with you,
So I mean, occasionally I will take my sticks, but if you might get the opportunity in between, say, traveling to events or in between, but when you're at an event, the long days and you're not going to get chance on that venue, and you just don't have the time, to be honest, and you don't have the inclination either because you're knackered and you're in work mode.
Of course, yeah. Makes sense.
So, yeah.
But obviously that's Phil Kenyon sort of goals. But as the future of putting, obviously Sam Labs, that puff view, them glasses, like different things, like people are doing different ways of reading the greens.
Yeah.
Like, are you developing anything on that sort of line? So I've seen you down on the putting green here with the glasses that read the greens for you, or is that what that even does?
Yeah. Oh, that's augmented reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're talking about the future, what does that behold? Well, I think how do people best learn? What technologies can help people learn and acquire skill, and I think with the stuff that you can do now with augmented reality. I've been involved in a project which hopefully will come to fruition at some point in virtual reality.
Yeah.
And I think those kind of technologies have a lot of potential in terms of how you can help people learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say that the two things that immediately stand out for me were technology in the future. It could be very different. You know, it's surprising. Like technology accelerates really, really quickly. And I was talking to someone in the VR world, and he was saying in no time at all, you know, everyone will be sat on a plane with a headset on with glasses, and you know, everything will be consumed through the glasses, type of things, and that'll happen like that. So the stuff's around the corner, but I think that type of technology has a really good application in terms of how people can learn skill, whether it be golf or other sports, or even outside of sport.
Well, I went to Wren Kitchens the other day, and I don't know if you've been, but it's you put the glasses on, virtual reality, and you like open your oven, and then you like open your fridge, and like you see what your kitchen's doing. I was like, "What? This is mad!"
Oh, so they design a kitchen? Do they?
You design, yeah.
They design it, but he put it in VR.
Exactly, your space, exactly, and then you can like press the button and you walk, and then you lift the wall and you'll turn and open your cupboards and all that. It's absolutely mental.
Yeah. So you know, if you imagine that, so in VR, there's no limit to your experience.
Yeah.
You can design in VR whatever you want. So yeah, there's a lot of like learning potential in that, because you could, you know, just for example, give you one specific example, but you could teach someone a golf swing in there. So you could, in VR, you get them in there, and you could have like an animated model which you have to then sit inside of, and as the model moves, you've got to then follow that.
I see,
yeah.
That's one example. There's loads of others, but yeah, it's powerful.
Is it? Well, that augmented reality, this is my perception of it when I seen the glasses. Do you put the glasses on and it reads, it shows you all like the nets, like on Tiger Woods, the game? Or is it?
Yeah, so augmented reality is basically like a projection onto the real world. So the VR is you're in a whole imaginary space, aren't you?
Yeah.
Augmented is you've got, like, so for example, the put view glasses, you're on a green, but the green's being scanned, and the put view will project in the glasses the break. It'll tell you the aim point, it'll project the break. So you're seeing a visual in real world or on a real world application. So that's the augmented reality, interaction of both.
I see. How's it work when you put your head down to read the putt then? Does it,
wherever you look, it's there. Mad.
I see. But if you've picked your line and then you look at the ball and you look up, and then is the line still there?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's wherever you're looking, it's in your
field of vision.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I actually think that's what your eyeballs are like.
I think I've already got that.
Have you?
I think so. Must have.
Be the years of drug abuse.
You know me so well.
That's why you keep aiming left and holding putt. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
We had an incident in me on the 8th at S&A last weekend. I held a putt, didn't I? And you were about to give
he goes at the right edge this, and I've stood behind him, I've looked, and he's aiming left edge, and then he hits it, goes in, and he goes, I go, you know what? And he goes,
don't say a word.
Don't say a word.
It went in.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I said, I'm sure Kenyon could rip you apart next week if you see him.
Was that for an 8?
9.
Good
yeah.
9.
Great, man.
Thanks. I'm good at them when they don't mean nothing.
Brilliant. But thanks for taking the time,
Yeah,
Phil.
pleasure,
Being brilliant.
boys.
Yeah,
Thank
really
you very
appreciate
much.
it,
Yeah.
mate. Yeah.
Cheers. Thank
Everyone
you.
will enjoy that. Thanks, mate.
Pleasure.
A little bit of a helping breeze right here, so. Oh, we topped it. He cold topped it. Okay. Better get up. Yeah. 8 iron. Oh, we shanked it. Oh, look at that line, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, boy, is he out of sync.